Hello, everyone. Hi, and I am so excited to welcome you to today's Alta Live. My name is Beth Spotswood. I am your host for today's Alta Live. I am an enthusiastic fan of Rick Bass, the author that we're going to speak with today. He wrote Of Ice Packs and Men, this incredible folio that is featured in the current issue of Alta. We're gonna kind of get to that in a second, but I want to talk to you briefly about Rick and just let you know how legit he is and what an honor it is for us to have him in our magazine. Rick is the author of more than 30 books, including most recently last year's With Every Great Breath. It's a collection of his essays, and we're going to shoot you a link to that because I really encourage you to buy it. He has won awards too numerous to mention, but among them, the National Book Critics Circle Award. He is a recipient of a National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellowship. He has served as a contributing editor to Sierra, Tricycle, The Buddhist Review, Big Sky Journal, Amicus Journal, Outside Magazine, one dear and near to our heart, Field and Stream, The Contemporary Wing Shooter, and many other publications. He is on the editorial board of the Whitefish Review and teaches in the Stone Coast Low Residency MFA program. He was born and raised in Texas, and has lived in Montana for almost 40 years. He also, as he wrote about in Of Ice Packs and Men, this wonderful little folio that's in Alta, played on a semi-pro Texas football team for a season and shared that experience with us. We're going to talk to him about that today, and I have a billion questions. Before we do that, I'm going to give you, if you've been to Alta Live before, you know my wonderful sales pitch. You guys, Alta Journal is an incredible quarterly magazine and website focused on California in the West. We are, if you haven't seen us before, we are unlike any other magazine that you've ever seen. We are big, beautiful, quarterly, so you get us every quarter. $50 a year to subscribe. Our current issue, which you will get if you subscribe right now, is the 7 Wonders of California. Within it, we have many other mini wonders, everything from monarch butterflies to Disneyland to the LA freeways. We also have extraordinary articles, including Rick's. So if you like what we do here, we host free events like this every week, Alta Live. We host the California Book Club every month. And I really hope you consider supporting us because we need your subscriptions, your support, your membership. So I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat. And it is a new year, a new you, a great time to subscribe to Alta. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask your questions for Rick. There's also a chat. Hello from Southern California, San Francisco, Ukiah, LA. It's great to see you all joining us today. This interview will be recorded and posted to altaonline.com today. We're also going to send you an email with links to read Of Ice Packs and Men, where you can read Rick's other work, including an incredible article he wrote for Texas Monthly about this very team several years ago, where you can buy his books, etc. And again, where you can support Alta and sign up for upcoming events. With that, I am up here in Marin County, California. Rick, you are not on a football field. Where are you today?
I'm out in eastern Montana, just out in this strange, wonderful country, up toward White Sulphur Springs. It's kind of an unnamed little low mountain range. My partner lives out here. It's about 7 hours from my home in Yack, Montana, in the far northwest corner. So kind of that California thing going on, big state, big distances between, big geographies.
But you're in Big Sky Country.
Yeah.
All right, so how then, this begs the really obvious question, how on earth did you end up playing for a teeny tiny semi-professional, is it semi-professional or minor league football team, the
They
Texas Express?
Yeah, all of the above. It's I call it a shadow league. They play in the spring instead of the fall with when you think of football season. In theory, they're semi-pro. They have to pay the stadium rental and the referees and umpires, and they sell tickets and merch, and they split proceeds. They have a Super Bowl and so forth. But the books rarely balance. With U.S. currency. They balance in other ways.
I'm sure they do. In fact, I was looking it up. There's not, there's not a ton of websites. There's when you Google this, you are in the top 10. You are the guy kind of representing this minor league football or semi-pro football team to the masses. So but I did learn that most of the players need to try out. They pay to join the team, they buy their own uniforms, and then they've got to try out. They're also typically significantly younger than you who joined the team at 60 years old. How on earth did you end up on the Texas Express?
I thought it'd be an adventure. I thought it would be fun. It was both of those things. My best friend from high school, Kirby, was their trainer, and so I'd go to games and watch him, administering to the fallen and the injured, and I was struck by how small they were. Slight, slender, not. I mean, the linemen, of course, were enormous, but the skill players were human. They were not. They were human, and so I thought, I think I could do this, and then that led to one thing led to another. Yeah.
And so Kirby is sent your best friend, who was the trainer, the
Yes.
volunteer trainer, I should point out, for the Texas
Exactly. Yeah.
Express, hooked you up with what seems like an incredible coach. And one of the
Yes.
parts of your story that I enjoyed the most was getting to know Coach, um, who is I did a little digging. He's a sanitation worker
Yep. Yep.
by
Among other
day.
things, and a, a dog catcher and a water engineer for the city of Hempstead's water supply. He's a lot of things. He sings in his church choir, has an incredible voice. He's kind of a Renaissance guy, and one of the most passionate people I've ever met, and at times one of the most profane, which is covers some territory, myself included. Yeah, he's a piece of work.
So you living in Montana, and remind me of the name of the town. I looked up the name of the town.
Well, it's not really a town. It's a valley called Yak, Yaak.
But
It,
the place in
oh,
Te is it Brenham,
oh,
Texas?
yeah, Brenham. Yeah, yeah,
Brenham, Tech population 17,000. We are
yeah.
not, it's not a great metropolis.
That that got us in trouble at times. Yeah, when we go to San Antonio or Houston, they had their
Right.
players,
And
their skill positions were large and powerful.
so did you move to Brenham for the season, or are you flying back and forth?
Yeah, great question. I was doing a residency down in Marfa. I was with
Oh.
that Lannan Foundation. They had a house, and I was living out there in West Texas, and I had a little Prius that I could drive from Marfa to Brenham for practice and for games, and so that's what I did during the COVID year. And it was an extraordinary adventure. It was everything I um, could have hoped for and more, and it had some surprises that I would have wished otherwise. But um, that's, it was an amazing year. Yeah.
How were you received by your teammates? I imagine that had to be an interesting kind of, and this is Rick, everyone. I mean, that must have been an interesting introduction.
Yes, I mean, I was received with such generosity. One of my fears was that they would see my entrance on the team. I knew them from having done the journalism about them a couple years previous, but I didn't want them to feel disrespected. That I thought this was a lark, and that
Mm.
I didn't want to lower the level of the intensity and commitment of the team. I didn't want it to be a circus or a sideshow, and so I worked at that, and it was just it was a wonderful, humbling, reception, into their team. They really defended me and supported it, and were delighted with it. It was just magical. I mean, I just integrated, and they looked twice, maybe like for about the first 15 seconds when coach said this is what's going down, but after that there was never any doubt, and just all in, which was just really kind of a breathtaking generosity of spirit. It was.
And were you treated as a teammate, as tough as everyone else? They hit you full?
Oh, I'm afraid so. Yeah, your teammates don't hit you full, but we trained as hard, and there was no mercy, no expectations of just encouragement. They praise a good play, and they laugh and joke when something didn't go as planned. But they had high accountability. It was sweetly, beautifully legit.
I mean, you speak of this as, I mean, I'm reminded, and I'm showing my very millennial or exennial age of in City Slickers. They go to this like baseball dream camp, and it's kind of middle-aged men living up. They get to play, baseball. They get to meet Willie Mays, etc. This sounds like a much more intense. This is not a rotsy-totsy. We give you Caesar salads at lunch, and then you get to play the next version of football. You really committed yourself to getting hurt, filthy, I mean, there must have been times when you were like, screw this. I can go back to Marfa.
No, I did never. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of uh, discomfort, pain, whatever you want to call it. But no, I loved it. There was never a moment where I didn't love it, even in the pain. And that was it was really surprising to me how it's kind of like a cult or brainwashing. You are so because everybody is all in on everybody else, and you see in pro games you see a player get hurt and not want to come off the field and stuff, and that's what it's like. You just can't bear to not uh, you can't bear to come off the field. You're so committed to blocking for the ball carrier, or to being on kickoff team, or to rushing on a punt, whatever your skill and position is. You're so passionate about it. You can't quitting is not quitting leaves your mind in that team situation. Uh, so so yeah, no, I didn't ever have that feeling. I mean, even at the end, I don't even at the end when I was really injured, like crippled. We got in a situation where we needed a player on the field. I was thinking, well, here's how I could do it, and just make sure I absolutely don't get hit or touched. I could just do it was kind of sick, really, but beautiful. Uh, and I'm glad
It's
it's behind. Yeah, I wouldn't go back.
well, so that, I mean, I guess that's, had you wanted to do this, I think that, for so many of us who have, you're a writer, you're an educator, for those of us that have our jobs that we go to, we've got our families, I've got in the back of my head, I want to go do storytelling on stage, or someone wants to go be a pastry chef, or, follow these dreams. Had this always been one of your, I'm going to go really play football?
No, not at all. I mean, I love watching the sport, and that's a whole other conversation about the evolution of it, or devolution, or the violence and the cumulative effects of the sport, and our as viewers, spectators, our participation in that equation. But it was more of a, I don't want to say it was a lark, but um, I didn't go in there thinking I would play. I went in there thinking I would watch. Kirby always had these amazing stories about the players and about coach, and it was just a way to be inside his extraordinarily interesting life. I had done a journalism piece about him. He was a volunteer firefighter for a long time, and I'd written about that. He just gets into interesting situations. For that,
Kirby?
yeah, yeah, for that job, he got me a suit, and a fire suit, and had me going into burning buildings, with fire, and that was fun. So this just seemed maybe like a natural extension, like uh, yeah.
You mentioned there's a line, I underlined it, that there's something, the long, joyous, addicting diminishment. What about this
Mm.
was it? I was struck by the word addicting. What about this was addictive for you? Which part of it?
Uh, all of it. The the days between practices, the stretching, the physical training, of course, is stirs dopamine and so forth in you, and becomes an addiction. The intense mental preparation, memorizing the plays and thinking, knowing who's going to be where, what, and how the play should be run perfectly, and where the defense, where you hope the defense will go, where you hope the offense will go, and just inhabiting this. It's world building, and it's like writing a novel. I mean, you're plotting, have a game plan, you execute, and you look for places on the field to exploit. It's just it is an addiction. It's a beautiful territory to be in, and the practices were to a cause, and giving your all. It was incandescently beautiful. All of it. Practicing at night under those halogen lights, and the players just sweating and glinting like you know not even like humans, but like animals, creatures, welded of iron or something. It was and the sounds, the cadences when they're leading the calisthenics, just the unity when you break huddle on on two, on three, whatever. It was totally addictive. Yeah.
In reading this, my husband also read it, and I had to immediately say, "You are not allowed to do this," because it sounds, it sounds like, oh yeah, I could, this must be the, I, and you said that, those days are over. What did you get out of it? What itch did it scratch for you that is now done?
If I can reverse a bit, it didn't because I played ball before. It didn't scratch an itch to return. I knew what it was like. Pardon me, I've got 5 dogs in the house, and one is old and has arthritis and will be whimpering at times, and
Oh, me
one is
too.
neurotic and will see a rabbit or a deer and start barking at it, and then another one hear it. And so sorry.
This
Um,
is live. We're good. We welcome it all.
Great. It wasn't so much scratching an itch. I think what I learned, if that's the direction, the arc of the question, was were the surprising things, the things I didn't
Yeah.
expect I would experience, uh, and that was the solidarity of the team, and the how quickly we, again, I knew them from a couple of years before, but how quickly the uh, the intimacy of combat. Uh, what's the word? Not melds, but not unifies, but conjoins. It's a cliche, but like a brotherhood, or something even more intense.
Wow. We have a question. And folks, please do continue to pop your questions in the Q&A button. Mary asks, this is a great question, because if Mary, read the article, but what position did you play, Rick?
uh, I was a running back. I had been I've been a slot receiver in college, what they called flanker, and is now slot receiver, but was told that I was too small and too slow, which is a really bad combination. And so they put me in backfield, and it just it was really fun. You're the farthest back, you're the last person you can see the all other 21 players, and it was backseat driver. It was a great perspective for a journalist. Less so for 62, 63-year-old man, but.
Did you go into this? You mentioned it. You mentioned that you had a teeny tiny little notebook and pen hidden in your
Yes.
uniform
Oh my
pants.
God. Yes. Oh my God. I can't believe you remember that. I was thinking about it today, yesterday. That's just that was stuff like that the fun stuff. I remember also how fun it was. That was yeah.
Well, were you taking notes out there? Where it was
I thought I would. Obviously, it didn't. That I didn't. I mean, there were so many things to remember. Like, okay, is your chin strap buckled? Okay, is the count? What's the count? What's the play? Who's going to go where? But I don't know. I thought maybe in the huddle between plays, I'd have some image or something and jot it down. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah.
what was the plan to write a book?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Is
for
the plan
sure.
to write? This is going to be a book.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
From the beginning, that was the goal.
And so coach and the team signed on to this.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. They sometimes coach he called me his biographer, which was funny. Yeah.
How's the team doing now?
It's kind of
They're on break.
scattered and gone to the winds. There, less humorous, and that was one of the intense things about the team. So many of the young men, it was kind of they came to coach as, an authority figure in their lives and a father figure, and he gave them a lot of advice. That was not just football advice, and uh, they everybody's just kind of gone all different directions. Not a lot of them. Some of them got in trouble, fights and such, and team just kind of, uh, I don't know, I think the team just kind of vanished and disbanded. Some of the players went to other teams. As we were our losing season, as we started. Excuse me. It's okay, Dots. Pony here. Um, as we were getting our butts kicked game after game because we had such a small team, uh, other teams would write coach and say, "Hey, can we have some of your players? Can you come join our league and stuff?" And it's kind of a cannibalistic uh, system. So the fact that we were able to
Really?
hold together for as long as we did was kind of an exception, I think. But I
But
was
they're
really
part of the league. They're part of or they were, I guess, part of the Texas Dynamic Football Association.
backward. And the small town, Brenham, had, as you mentioned, 17,000 people, whatever. It's a really small talent pool for, to compete with Houston, and San Antonio. I know eighth largest, sixth largest cities in the country, whatever. And even Austin had a team. So we were way in over our head. I mean, just like ridiculously. I was in over my head, and the team was in over their head.
So has the team officially disbanded?
I would call it dormant more.
Okay.
Yeah, coach is taking a break. Last I heard. Um,
Do you have any update on Coach?
no, last I heard, he was hoping to start a gym, which I think would be a great idea, like an old school gym where you don't so much have the cables and pulleys and elliptical trainers and so forth, but where he just has people carry around kettlebells and push cars through the cemetery and carry buckets of water up steep hills and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and where he can uh, punish them. He delighted in pushing people to their physical extremes, and uh, I mean, another life, he'd be, an offensive genius, with uh, Gil Brandt or something with these unorthodox training and scouting methods. He he was of all is a volcano of passion.
You describe him both as a football coach and a life coach, and I forget the numbers, but it was he had lost, past players to either the penitentiary or only you make a point of saying only two had died, as if that was a good number, a
Extraordinary.
low number.
I think we all are aware of the extraordinary high mortality rate of young black men, and for to lose only two in his custody over 10 plus years is speaks to uh, the power of what he had to give them uh, and the
Are you
team.
able
Yeah,
are you able to keep in touch with any of your other teammates? Did you have a best other than Kirby? Did you find a comrade on the team?
I did. I've haven't been in touch recently with Neil, who was probably my biggest supporter, and yeah, Neil ended up being linebacker, and he was a great player. Uh, but he's so sweet, and linebacker, you don't generally think of sweet linebackers, but um, I I really he was really is a sweet man, and a really great linebacker.
We're getting some questions about your injuries. Can you, of which there seems to be in this many, not particularly major. You're still walking.
I was so lucky. I mean, I ran. We did a lot of kickoffs. Because when the other team scores a touchdown, they kick off to you, and we received a lot of kickoffs, and I would be running, full speed through this matrix of, really strong, fast, violent men, and my teammates would get injured, really bad injuries, torn rotator cuffs, torn ACLs, Quincy, not, was it Quincy? I think it was, can't remember if it was Quincy, had his patella torn off. I
I
mean,
know. I had to Google what that was, and I wish I
it's not,
didn't.
no, it just screaming, and, four people carrying him off. And, my injuries were usually self-inflicted, a pulled hamstring or pulled groin, or just not being elastic, not being flexible enough for the field. We played on grass field usually, grass and rock. But the um, the artificial turf, of course, it's faster, and when you hit there, you really bounce. It really hurts. I've heard it described as being landing on pavement, which it is, maybe a little harder. Um, and I've heard it described being tackled as like being in a car wreck, and being tackled or blocked on a kickoff is like a car wreck. And I would, but I never had any permanent injuries. Just I had cracked ribs in the Red Raider game, and that really hurt, and that lasted a long time. But it got better, it healed.
Just out of curiosity, in the kind of the Texas world of semi-pro football, what's the big team? Who's the superstar of semi-pro football?
Well, for a while it was Coach. Amazingly, I mean, he took a couple of teams to the Super Bowl. He had in 10 years had not had a winning record until I joined.
Oh,
Uh, um, yeah, his teams were legendary. He always had a great defense and defense, as we say in Texas. Um, the uh, the Austin team was pretty badass. The Red Raiders were really badass. The Baytown Red Raiders, my nemesis. Yeah, they didn't think it was very. Um,
the Red Raiders were your nemesis?
yeah. They to a man, they were not into my book, into my journalism, into my presence on
Oh,
the field. That was I think I offended their aesthetics.
why?
I think because I was so old, and
Oh,
they thought he thinks
what
he
did they
can
call you, Papa?
pops and gramps, and they had sweet nicknames too that were fun. It was yeah, that was I had not thought that would I hadn't thought about that, but they definitely wanted to have nicknames, and so that was cute.
You went all the way to Texas for this, and so I was wondering, is this only a thing in Texas? No, West Coast people. I have looked up the California leagues, and there's the Bakersfield Hawks, the Reno Raiders, the Sin City Venom, East
Oh
Bay
my God.
Rogue. Those of us in the Bay Area, there's the Bay Delta Nightmares. I feel like minor league teams always have better names also.
Those
They
are
have
great. Yeah, our name was kind of lame, the Express. Those names are
no, but the
excellent.
logo's great. It's a train. It's a train engine coming through. I looked at the Facebook page. There's not even a website for the Texas Express, but there is a Facebook page. And my God, are those players filthy? I mean, you are playing on grass, yes, but you're playing in mud. It was rough stuff.
It was rough. Yeah. No.
I mean, I realized that this was in, let's see, 2020, so or 2021. And you're a little bit older now. Would you
Yeah.
ever do it again?
No, ma'am. No. Never.
One season and done?
Yes.
In terms of what's the timeline look like for the book? What can we expect?
It'll be out this fall. University of New Mexico Press. And we've changed the title. It's going to be called Wrecking Ball, with deference to the Bruce Springsteen song. And um, yeah, it'll be out this fall.
How does Coach feel about this?
I have not heard from Coach recently, but last I saw, he was all in and excited. He and I both believe it'd be a good reality show with him and his players.
Oh, really?
Not yours truly. Yeah, I think it'd be fascinating. I mean,
Why?
the players are so because they're so passionate, because there's so much at stake. It's not just um, some a small number have legitimate aspirations of advancing higher into the ranks and ultimately into the NFL. A lot of them want to get college scholarships,
Mm,
and some do. And there are different levels of semi-pro teams that some pay, you know, uh, I don't know if I'd call it living wages, but they pay a lot more than the Express. And so there are all the, but that's not the those players are far and away the minimum. I think a lot of them are battling different things in their lives, and this is a place, pardon the pun, where they can express themselves and focus on something positive, and where they get out of it what they put into it. And there's guidance, there's structure, there's rules, there's accountability, there's pride, there's a lot of positive things, and it's just everybody's story is different. Uh, Kojo was one of my favorites. Also, he was kind of an enigma. He was very quiet. He's very athletic, incredible receiver, incredible uh, speed, incredible hands, and uh, he worked in a retirement home. And I remember him telling me one time how they scared him. The old people scared him. They'd be coming down the hallway, kind of shuffling and kind of blanked out, and he'd see them, and he would just get frightened of them. And it was so touching to hear this, this supremely powerful young man be frightened of anything. And he's frightened of mortality, and they can. And
mm,
uh, in Texas, sometimes a lot of teams will have two or three players with the same name, like you know Jerry Jones and Jimmy Jones and Jerry Johnson and Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Johnson and so on and so forth. And so I just assume, and they'll get these nicknames like you know Jerjo and Jim Joe and so I thought Kojo was short for Kevin Johnson or something, or Keith Johnson. I said, Kojo, how'd you get your name? And he looked at me and said, my parents gave it to me. I like, anyway,
oh, his name is really Kojo.
Kojo, yeah, no, I mean, I just, I stumbled, world's worst journalist.
No. No, and I realize that I've gone a little bit over. I'm sorry, but this this reads so I am not a football expert or enthusiast by any means, and it's such a fascinating read. It reminded me a bit of Among the Thugs by Bill Buford. Did you ever read that? Where he
No, no, I love the title. No,
Oh, he follows British football fans and he gets involved in a kind of a group of thugs of British football fans and immerses himself in that.
oh
And
my
it's
word.
it's an interesting, I mean, I don't know, maybe as I am, I'm in my middle age, I'm just fascinated by people that are kind of willing to take the time out of your life. You kind of explained that you had this window of use it or lose it, an opportunity through your job to explore this. And I think that it is um really exciting and admirable that you did it. And thank you for letting the rest of us kind of live vicariously. We're excited for the book.
Thank you.
Um, and if folks, you haven't already grabbed your new issue of Alta, you can buy it at altaonline.com/store. Pick it up. This is great to take with you and read anywhere waiting at the, I'll go stick it at doctor's offices, but it is a really fun 15-minute read. And ultimately we're going to get this fall, we will get a great book and promote the hell out of it at Alta, Rick, because we're big, big fans.
Well, likewise, thanks so much. Thanks for the great editing on it, and yeah, just such a beautiful product, a beautiful magazine, and I love what y'all are doing, and honored to be part of it.
Well, we're honored to have you. Folks, before you bounce, I want to invite you next week. We had a rescheduling of the 7 food wonders of California. We are going to talk with Tamara Palmer and Brock Keeling, both food writers, one in Northern California, one in Southern California, about food food wonders of the West Coast. So a little switch from today's topic. But again, I'm so grateful to all of you for joining us today. Certainly grateful to you, Mr. Bass. And I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Stay safe and Happy New Year.
Well, too. Thanks, Beth.
Thanks.